professor of political science at the University of Massachusetts,
Recording in progress.
And director of the Institute for Asian American Studies. And I welcome everybody to this debate of city councilors in Malden. It'll be followed next week by a debate that will include people who are running for school committee in Malden. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm more degree John Curtis.
Wait, hold on.
Sorry.
And I want to say that as somebody who doesn't live in Malden, I must say that I've followed Malden very closely. It's a very proud community. I've watched the fact that this community has been one that's tried to embrace inclusion and diversity and done so very well. And it's a community that I noticed. We did a report on Malden as part of the Boston Foundation and the 4 Racial and Ethnic Institutes at UMass Boston last year. And one thing that struck me about Malden, it's a community that is highly diverse, but is probably the community in Massachusetts that has the greatest level of income equity than any city in Massachusetts. So that's something to be proud of in this particular town and something to try to build upon as well. So I really welcome you to this opportunity. I want to thank the sponsors of this particular debate. The Chinese Cultural Connection of Malden is one of the sponsors, the Mass Senior Action, the Association for American Arab Women, and the Greater Malden Asian American Community Coalition and UMA. They're the sponsors of this particular forum, and I want to thank them for their willingness to put forth the time and resource to put this gathering together. And I want to thank the candidates as well. Let me go over the format a little bit for the candidates' sake. We're going to begin with an opportunity for opening remarks. You're going to get 1.5 minutes to do so, and there'll be a timer that'll be superimposed on the screen, so you'll find out exactly how much time you have. So 1.5 minutes for opening remarks. And then we're going to follow with a series of round of questions. The first ones are going to be ones that are submitted by the sponsors, and I will be giving those. And you'll only get 1 minute for a response. So please be very pointed and very direct in your answers. 1 minute for response to the questions. And then that's going to be followed by some questions that are going to come from the audience themselves, and we're going to try to deal with those. And we're going to try to get as many questions as we can within the 2-hour period that we have set aside. And then you're going to be able to close with a 1 minute closing remarks at the end, okay? So this is the way we're going to proceed. So be very direct in terms of your answers. You don't get a long time to respond, but hopefully we'll be able to cover a lot of terrain. And I'll begin with an order of the questions, and then I'm going to change the order of the questions so the certain people are giving the questions in different orders. So no one is forced to give the first answer all the time or the last answer all the time. We'll move it along in that fashion. Are there any questions from any of the candidates about the format?
No.
And hopefully in the 2 hours that we do, by the time we're done, the Red Sox will be up by about 12 runs. So you'll be happy on that front as well, okay? And if you see me looking over to my right every while, because I'm going to be checking the Red Sox game, not because I really care, but because I want to make sure I can report on what's happening in that area as well for you.
Just hold some fingers up for a score update.
I will. I'll give you a score update every once in a while.
All right. Right hand for the Sox. Right Sox.
Okay, and I would like to thank all the people who helped put this together, but their names are too many of them. But I just really hope that they understand about the wonderful work that they put into this, and thank them. Hope to thank them profusely, particularly at the end, for their contribution to this effort in Malden. So let's begin with opening statements, and I'm going to begin with Peg Crow. Peg.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening. First, let me thank Mei Hang and the Chinese Cultural Connection for organizing this forum and for the participating organizations for their involvement, not only in this forum, but in the city and their dedication as well. As stated, I am Peg Crow. I am the current Ward 1 City Councilor. And if you are not sure, Ward 1 is also known as the Bell Rock Park area of Malden, near Everett. I was born and raised in Malden, and from a young age, my parents instilled in us the importance of mutual respect, building community, and the philosophy of we are all in this together. A phrase that I've been using for 35 plus years, working with youth, teens, and families, and something that I honestly believe in. I am currently the executive director of YWCA Malden, but I've been with the organization in some way, shape, or form since I was a teen myself, participating, volunteering, or working. And it's through that work and my dedication to the families that we serve that I first brought me to serve on the school committee and now on the city council. As a city councilor, I've worked hard on behalf of Ward 1 on matters that make our city the place people want to live, work, and play. Public safety, infrastructure, housing stability, open space in Ward 1, supports for residents, social supports, pandemic relief efforts, and more, all areas that I've worked on to help make Malden the vibrant community that it is. I'm running for re-election because although we are on the right track in our community, we have so much more work to do. I have the experience, passion, and leadership skills to get that work done. And with your support, I'll be the next Ward 1 City Councilor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peg. Glenn Curtis.
Are we good?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, my name's Glenn Curtis. For everyone that didn't see the last debate, let me give me a chance to introduce myself. I've been living in Malden for the close to 30 years now. I was born in East Boston. I married the love of my life, who's a Malden native. We have raised our family. I have 3 children. My oldest son is in the Coast Guard. My middle child, Mackenzie, is a nuclear engineer. And my youngest son just graduated from Malden Catholic. We own and operate a small business. I'm out every single day. I've coached all, from the age of 21 to, from 18, which in my children's ages, I've coached every single child in probably every single sport that there possibly is. It's a great honor, getting to mentor these children and seeing, their growth and, trying to pass it on for another generation to keep on going. For almost 30 years now, I've come to love Malden like, there's no other, and I would not change it for anything. I'd rather, not live anywhere but Malden. One of the main reasons why I'm running, for this is, I just want to make a difference in, my community. And, the, past few years, I haven't seen anything going on. There hasn't been, any, development in my neighborhood. Streets are still the same. Everything's still the same. And I'm just trying to get out there and just make a difference and, try and make it better for our community. I'm running for city council, to make a difference, in our community. I want us to have, that old school feeling, how, each other's neighbor and everybody, knows everybody. And that's basically what I'm trying to get down to, is bringing back that old school community feeling. I appreciate, all the individuals who compromise, for our town, the city, the fire department, police department.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Mr. Curtis, your time is up.
All right, thank you.
By the way, are the candidates able to see a timer or not?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to.
Professor Watanabe, the timer has some issues. I'm trying to fix it as soon as possible. So the backup plan is for this part, please every candidate limited your time in 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll try to watch the time as well. So
yeah, and for the
thank
next Q&A part, if I still cannot fix that, you have bell to make the ding sound, and everybody should hear that. I think there's if in that case, the warning alert will only be like in 15 seconds if you only left.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Sorry for that.
No problem. Amanda Linehan.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Great. So thank you so much to our moderator and our hosts. Bringing together such a diverse cross-section of community organizations and providing the language interpretation is so valuable to us as candidates. So I just want to take a minute to thank you for this opportunity to listen and share our vision. I also want to congratulate all my fellow candidates for running this year. I really believe our community is better for having choices at the ballot box. So for those I haven't met, my name is Amanda Linehan. I currently serve as the city councilor representing Ward 3. I live in the West End. I've lived here for 10 years with my husband, Mark, and our 8-year-old daughter, Georgia, who attends the BB school. When I ran 2 years ago, I did so because I had a vision for a community that's inclusive and accepting, and where every resident is heard and has a voice on our city council. And it has been my honor to serve you these last 2 years. I'm running for another term because I can't wait to continue all the amazing progress that we've made together, even in the face of this very challenging era that we're living through. I know that Malden is still navigating the new normal and that COVID-19 is still affecting our schools, our children, our business community, our healthcare system, and really the community at large every single day. I believe we need bold and proven leadership to make sure that we recover and build a bright future together. You know, Malden's a place where neighbors look out for one another and lift each other up. And as a counselor, I've been really honored to take part in that. By working with all of you together, I can do my job better. And I humbly ask for your vote again this November 2nd.
Thank you very much. Ryan O'Malley,
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
we can.
Hi, my name is Ryan O'Malley. I'm the Ward 4 City Councilor. I'm currently a student at Boston College at their law school. I would like to thank the Chinese Cultural Connection, GMAC, Mass Senior Action, and the American Association of Arab Women, UMA, and Malden Reads for hosting tonight. As a proud product of Malden Public Schools, it's been an honor to serve Ward 4 in the Malden community. I'm proud to be from Malden and live in this diverse community. But over the years, you know, we've faced a lot of challenges together. You know, anti-Asian bigotry during the previous White House administration, even former elected officials in our community who are currently running for city council and who are helping people run for council. We have to remain vigilant of lies and propaganda and really stand up against the vitriol that is occurring in this election and other elections. And we know that, you know, these type of things do not make Malden a stronger place. It's working together that makes us a stronger community. Over the last 5 years, we've removed over 1,000 lead service lines, lead pipes, water pipes. We brought a new trash program to Malden. We've added more green space and recreational facilities to our community. And our businesses are thriving now more than ever. Businesses like Ming's Seafood, who I helped uncover their beautiful sign when they were being discriminated against by the city for years. But we haven't done this alone. We've done it with community groups like the Chinese Cultural Connection, GMAC, Malden Neighbors Helping Neighbors, who helped get us through the worst of the pandemic. We are battling a historic public health crisis, and we cannot afford to move backwards. I look forward to being the next city councilor and focusing on some of these priorities and more, like bringing over 2,500 jobs to Malden by 2025. Again, my name is Ryan O'Malley. I'm a Ward 4 City Councilor, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much. Jeffrey Allen Donahue.
How are you? First off, I want to thank everyone for putting this together this evening. I did miss the beginning parameters of it all. We were having technical difficulties and your team worked me through that. So I appreciate that. But my name is Jeffrey Donahue. I'm a Ward 4 resident. I've been here for 54 years. I'll be 55 in about a month and a half. I live in Malden with my wife, Tina, and my 3 children, Sean, Olivia, and Bryn. We've all attended Malden Public Schools. It's kind of ironic. All 5 of us went to BB. Been in Malden my whole life, 5th generation Maldonian, very proud to live here. There's been a lot of stuff that's going on in the last couple of years in Malden. We've grown a lot, but some of the growth I don't think has been responsible growth. There's a lot more in the pipeline coming up, and I'd like to be a part of that to make sure that my community and my neighborhood and everyone that lives in the downtown area has a voice that actually listens to what the people want to do. They took a vote a couple of years back where 65 or 68% said they didn't want any more big development downtown. Yet we have a couple of projects, one that was just approved and one in the pipeline. We're talking about bus lanes on Route 60 and bike lanes through people's yards. There's a lot of things that are going on that the average voter doesn't see because people really don't watch the meetings as much as you would like them to. And a lot of people don't get the local paper. So you have to kind of take people at their word. And I don't think the word's getting out there. So I've been trying to work on that with mailings and going door to door for this election. I was a councilor for 8 years. I was the 2004 council president, basically chairman of every committee. And I know how to get things done. I had a 99% success rate. I had 197 papers when I was on the council and only one of them didn't pass. So I know what it takes. And I'm invigorated. I'm excited. I think this is a great campaign this season. There's a lot of people. It is a pivotal year. A lot of people have used that term, but I think you really have to look at the issues and look at the candidates and get involved. There's a month left.
Thank you, Mr.
Not be
Donahue.
alone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. Ari Taylor.
Thank you so much. First, I'd just like to start by thanking the Chinese Cultural Connection and all of the sponsors for putting this together. Having hosted forums, I understand the work that goes into this, and I'm very appreciative that you have this opportunity for candidates to speak. My name is Ari Taylor. I'm running for ward counselor for Ward 5. I'm a community activist with a proven track record of getting things done for this city. I'm a lifelong resident of Ward 5, where I live with my husband, Jeff, our 3 daughters, Emily, Charlotte, and Phoebe, and my mother, Diane. I've spent my entire life and career working hard to improve our community and give back. And I promise to be a fierce advocate and effective communicator on the City Council. As our Ward 5 City Councilor, my focus would be on increased accessibility and communication, affordable housing solutions for owners and renters, and local art installations. This means creating a ward with a broader community participation, modernizing communication across all platforms, both old and new, working to create affordable housing solutions by prioritizing our residents, whether they're looking for a rental or affordable home ownership, which is extremely important to me, and also holding landlords and developers accountable. Lastly, by adding local art to our neighborhood, we will not only allow an outlet for expression, but will ignite the economic engines of our small businesses and provide opportunities for working artists in our community, making our ward a destination for generations to come. My name is Ari Taylor, and I would love to earn your vote on November 2nd. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Barbara Murphy.
Thank you very much. And I too, not to sound repetitive, I think we all will say the same thing, but would like to thank everyone involved in putting this together. It's a wonderful opportunity to reach out to the individuals in the city through translation that we might not be able to reach. So thank you so much for doing this. And look forward to having a wonderful conversation tonight with all of us. My name is Barbara Murphy, and I was born in Malden, and I also went through Malden High School. I married a Malden boy, my husband, Jeff, and we had 2 lovely sons, Jeff and Patrick, that we chose to build a home and raise here in Malden on Forest Street. Forestdale and Ward 5 Ward 5 stretches from the Forestdale Cemetery and Pine Banks Park all the way over to Salem Street. It's quite a large ward, has a lot of different areas to it. But one of the wonderful things about it is the people. I have a saying that I always say, it takes a village, and Ward 5 was a great one. Whenever I put out a call, people of all nationalities, well, it's something that's wonderful to see, and it's a unity that I embrace. I am, we can talk about everything that I've done on the council, which is a lot over my tenure, but I think one of the things that's most important for folks to understand is that I'm a boots on the ground type of counselor. I'm the counselor who's out there walking the neighborhoods on a regular basis, pulling over a car and stopping and talking to people and understanding their issues and trying to solve them for them. I'm approachable. People call me 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and I do everything I can to resolve their problems. One of the other things I think is very important about who I am is a lot of people say they're an advocate for people, but you have to be a thoughtful advocate. You have to understand both sides and take the time to look at both sides and not just look at what your focus is. I tend to look at everyone's opinion. I look at the financial impacts associated with that. And then I do what my best I can to help the individual that has a need. We've done so much in Ward 5. We have tons of a number of streets. There are too many that we've repaved, sidewalks, we've planted trees. We've taken over 3 acres of land and put it in conservation status. I've been on the municipal building committee, which reopened Pleasant Street, which was one of my major goals, so that we could actually have a thriving downtown, which we do now when we have more and more businesses coming into it. was an advocate this year during the budget as chair of finance for having the mayor put more money into language translation and also
Thank you, Barbara.
programming. Thank you. My name is Barbara Murphy. Appreciate your vote for city councilor on November 2nd.
Thank you very much. Stephen Winslow.
Hello, I'm Stephen Winslow. I'm running for Ward 6 City Councilor. I am currently the councilor at large, one of our 3 councilors at large, but I've made the decision to run for Ward 6 councilor because I think we need a representative in Ward 6 that's committed to equity and inclusion. And that's been my commitment through my my motto of achieve more together. I've been working on all those issues in my term as councilor, and I will continue to do that. We've worked to increase language access. And for instance, in our affordable housing meetings, we did have translation services up to 6 languages and committed to continue to increase access. One of the things I've been very committed to is for our seniors and our disabled folks is to secure funding for sidewalks. And I've also been a strong advocate for transportation equity so that the folks, the 40% of Maldonians who rely on our buses, our trains, our sidewalks, and in the communities who rely a lot on bicycling, that we have safe streets for them and have speedy buses. So I am very committed to that. It's really about equity and inclusion and hearing voices. So often in the past, we listen to a very narrow slice of our community and take action on those. So I really appreciate this forum where we can meet folks. You know, one of the things I miss with this is being able to see you all. I really want to look forward to working on COVID and resolving things going forward so that we can all be together again at this many great events everybody in the fall forum has. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michelle Luong.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to first thank the Chinese Culture Connection and all of the wonderful organizations that have put this whole forum together. It's such an opportunity for each of these candidates here to offer what we can do for our wards and for the city of Malden to the voters in Malden. So thank you. As a mom, businesswoman, community activist, I have witnessed the changes that Malden and Ward 7 has gone through over the years. I am also your current school committee representative for Ward 7. I have worked hard to improve policies, add transparency with our special education audit, and protect our students by reinforcing and reinstating our anti-bully task force. I've been a community activist for a number of years. I've walked with the Friends of Ferryway Green back in the day and spent the past 14 years as a special education advocate. I'm also currently president of the Zonta Club of Malden. One of our biggest advocacy projects this year is to see that the Child Marriage Act is passed in the state of Massachusetts. During the pandemic, my family and I have delivered goods and Chromebooks to our school community. We've spent the last 18 months working so hard in our community. And if this has taught us anything, it's truly taught us the importance that working together and helping those around us is what's going to make us succeed. Ward 7 in the city of Malden has real issues with food insecurity and housing costs, traffic and pest control, and basic safety concerns. We can maximize our resources as we work together to ensure that every person counts. Remember, as your city council, I will work for you. A vote for me means that I will work even harder to earn your vote in 2 more years. Our city has changed, and with that change comes opportunities for us to move ourselves forward. I ask for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And Nate Baycupel.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Chinese Culture Connection, to UMA, to GMAC for convening this forum this evening, to my fellow candidates and community members who are here tonight. My name is Nate Baycupel. I'm excited and proud to be here. My wife and I live in the Highland Village area of our corner of Malden in Ward 8. I'm running for City Council as someone who has really firsthand experience with how social services-based organizations can really transform people's lives. I proudly served as the president of GMAC and of another organization for nearly 6 years committed to services for those touched by adoption, where I saw up close how social services could impact so many lives. The experience led me to social work school and has really continued throughout my career, from helping young people get into college, job training skills, anti-racism education, nonprofit leadership development, to working in healthcare with our nation's hospitals. I've spoken with so many of you about your experiences living this past year in the pandemic, lost loved ones, loss of income, housing, social isolation. I'm running because I think as we continue to navigate the long-term impacts of the pandemic, I think our city, and as a city councilor, we can play a positive role in building and weaving together our existing services equitably. I've had the great honor to have a career serving and helping others, and I'd be honored to have your vote on November 2nd to serve as your next Ward 8 City Councilor. Thank you.
Thanks, Nate. Nadish Philippe, is he here?
Karen Lynch is going to read her statement.
Okay, so there was a few people who could not come, and they asked if they could read an opening statement, at least, so we're going to let them. So does someone want to read the statement?
Karen, are
Karen,
you
you're
there?
muted. Karen.
Sorry about that. I want to thank the Chinese Culture Connection for organizing this forum tonight. I want to start by making it clear to my constituents why I'm not able to participate. I first received notice of the forum on Monday evening. I came to learn later that other candidates had been informed earlier, but there was a problem with the usage of incorrect email addresses for several candidates, including myself. With just a couple of days' notice, I had already made a commitment to my family for a much needed mini vacation. Everyone that knows me knows that I love being a counselor and sharing my vision during these forums, but nothing will ever come before my family. For almost my entire adult life, I've been active in the Linden community. I started, like so many others, volunteering my time for the PTO at the Linden STEAM Academy. This foundation not only provides a great insight into the workings of the school system, but helps form the relationships and true knowledge of the community that I would come to learn is critical to being a ward counselor. Of course, this led me later to run for city council, where I've served for the past 8 years. My passion has always been and will always be in connecting our community. We're coming off of an incredibly difficult 18 months, but brighter days are ahead. It's been, excuse me, it's been my honor to work for you the past 8 years and look forward to continuing to move Malden and Water 8 over the next 2 years. Thank you.
And is there a comment from Jadine Sika as well?
That's her.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was her.
Jadine.
So did Nadish, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Nadish, I don't know if she's here. Maybe she's not.
Yeah, she was going to be here. I thought to just give an opening statement. Apparently it's not here. So that was from Jadine Sika. And everyone is thanking the sponsors, and I neglected to thank one of the sponsors, Malden Reads, a great organization. So sorry for that slight, and thank them for being one of the co-sponsors as well. So let me begin by a question that I have, and give me the liberty of asking the first question. That's going to begin with asking it to Mr. Curtis and then Ms. Linehan down the line. And my question is this. A lot of you talked about change in Malden, and I think many have seen the changes that were talked about. But in some respects, the change is sometimes leads to a conflict between what we would call the old Malden and the new Malden. That is some necessity for people and the newcomers to Malden to recognize the important legacy that some of those who have been established here many times for generations have meant for the city. And for some of those who have been here established for a long time to recognize the diversity and the contribution that some of these newcomers can make to the city. And my question is this, do you see any conflict or tension between these two aspects of the old and new Malden? And if so, how do we deal with them? Or are there ways that we can bring both the old and new Malden together to build a better Malden? And I'm going to ask this of Glenn Curtis, and you have 1 minute to respond to these questions. Thank you. Mr. Curtis?
Sorry for interrupt. So the timer is ready, but the candidate is not able to see the screen, cannot see the countdown, but they can hear the sound. So I'm going to test it now, and Professor Watanabe, please help me to confirm if you can hear the sound, okay? Give me a second.
Am I ready to go?
No, yeah. Can you
Wait,
hear
hold
that?
on.
That's too soft. We don't hear it.
No.
Try it one more time.
So this is the 30 seconds warning. And now I'm going to try the 15 seconds one.
Okay, so the first one is there's 30 seconds left, and the second one is the cutoff, okay? So 1 minute to respond to these questions. Mr. Curtis, let's begin with you.
Okay, could you repeat the question, please?
Well, it's a little long, but I'm just trying to say that this question about the issues of the old Malden and the new Malden, how do we reconcile if there are any differences between the two of them? Can we build upon them, or if there are any tensions, how can we recognize those tensions and address them? Or if not, how can we build together a better united Malden if these tensions do exist between the two aspects of the older traditional Malden and the newcomers, that changes that people have talked about in their opening statements?
Okay, so I believe there is no conflict between new and old. As a small business owner, I'm out there every day. You know, I talk to everybody from every walks of life, and it's just a matter of communication. So the conflict that everyone's bringing up is, in my opinion, no dialect. If you just go out and you say hello to the next person and the next person, and therefore and then on, I mean, that will build a rapport between everyone, and then there can be no old and new, because once the two come together, they can learn, I used to live here, I now live here, we can all come together, this is what we expected, this is what we expect, this is what I'm looking for, and if we can all come together and just have a conversation, there should be no problem at all. I mean, just the feedback together, we can run off that, and then everybody can build off that. Thank you.
Yeah, can I say we should highlight the speaker, please?
Oh yeah, sorry for that.
Okay, sorry, that was Mr. Curtis. Miss Linehan, Amanda Linehan, please. 1 minute.
Great, thank you for the question. First, I just want to say, absolutely, we can overcome tensions and build community together. I think it's important to recognize that those tensions exist. They exist everywhere. It's not unique to Malden. And yet the particulars of what we face as a community are, of course, unique to Malden. I believe there's room for everyone. I think communities are changing is a good thing, and that we all benefit from the diverse viewpoints of newcomers. I think where we run into trouble is trying to blame, any one group, like renters, or I sometimes hear people say, transient people are bad, or people with kids cost the schools money, and so on and so forth. I think as someone who's lived here for 10 years, I don't always feel like I'm accepted as a lifelong Maldonian. And so I can sometimes appreciate, if somebody says, well, you don't know when that business was something else 30 years ago, that is not a productive way to be. And I think that actually our schools provide a really good model for how we can be more welcoming and inclusive. It starts with language access, it starts with better communication, and it starts with meeting people where they are and considering everybody on equal footing, no matter how long they've lived here. And that's how I try to operate as a counselor.
Great, thank you very much. Ryan O'Malley.
Hello. So, when we talk about old and new, I do think it is important to first acknowledge the land that we're on. Here in Malden, we are on the land of Pennacook and Massachusetts and the First Nations people. But from the beginning of European colonialism, Malden has been a historic immigrant community for hundreds of years. I personally am a descendant of Italian and Irish immigrants, and I'm very proud of that. And I do believe that, as things change, the more they stay the same. So I'm very proud to have grown up here in Malden with friends and family that speak all different types of languages and come from all different types of cultures. It really is an important thing. So the tension, obviously, I think we all know that there can be racism and bigotry in our community, but I do believe that growing up here and kids who are growing up here are the best bastion to end that vile disease that has plagued the world for thousands of years.
Thank you very much. Jeffrey Allen Donahue.
Thank you. I'm a proud Maldonian. I've been here 54 years. And, you know, I think the flames get fanned by statements of people saying reruns running for office. We can't go back in time. You know, comments like that, you see that come out of a city official's mouth and you're like, well, what is going on here? I don't think the average person that lives in this community sees this as a problem. Yes, I am old school Malden that's been here, and we're all from immigrants. You know, my wife is the first one born in America in her family. Her parents came over here 40 years ago to make a life for themselves, and they've done very well. But, you know, I also have 2 kids in Malden High School. One's on the volleyball team, one's the goalie for the girls soccer team. And I see their group of friends and how they interact. I don't think they're seeing things like some of the old community is here in Malden, and that's fine. They have to chart their path. They are the future of this city. So they're learning lessons from us. So, you know, I think people just really need to be cognizant of their statements. You know, don't try and walk them back after you say them, you know, telling people they're too old or old Malden versus new Malden. We're all in this together. You know, I've been in Malden Square for 54 years. I've seen change. Change is good. I mean, we're not going to go back to Granada Theater down there. They had 99-cent movies. It just wouldn't work. But we all just we're in this together, and you have to work together. And enough with the divisiveness.
Thank you very much. Ari Taylor.
Thank you so much. So first of all, Paul, I just want to say that this is a really important question, and one that I've thought long and hard about as a lifelong Maldonian and someone who is 3rd generation right here in Malden, and very proud of that. One of the reasons that my husband and I chose to stay and raise our family here is because of the changes and the diversity and everything that Malden is becoming. I think probably focusing on the fear of change does not help us as a society, as a community, but really embracing that. I think a lot of what we need to do is change the way we do and look at things to be more welcoming, and really show that in how we manage and govern our city. And that's one of the reasons that I'm running, and one of the things that I would like to do if elected. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Barbara Murphy.
Thank you very much. And it's an absolutely fabulous question. Once again, I hold the status of being one of those long-term Malden residents, similar to my opponent. But what I'd like to say is, even when I was young, okay, there was a diverse group of people here. You had, different nationalities coming in. You had Russians, you had Jews, you had Irish, you had Italian. People didn't speak the same language, but somehow we got along and we moved forward. And over the years, we've welcomed more and more different countries and nationalities into our lovely city. And I think we've done it in a warm and embracing way. I think you'll find most people in Malden don't stand for bigotry. They will stand up if they see something wrong, someone being bullied. As folks here have said, our school system is something that we can all learn from. When you walk down Salem Street and you see the high school getting out, you see everyone walking together and working together. It's a wonderful sight. Language translation, as I said earlier, I've just fought to put more money into the budget to make sure that we can translate appropriately so that people can get engaged with our community. And one of the things I'm really proud of is the Malden Community Garden, because it's a little community within itself. And I always like to say, like art, gardening transcends languages. And we see everyone down at that garden, not necessarily speaking the same language, but trying to help each other plant and grow and nurture food. So we have a wonderful community, and we should focus on the good things and try to bring more of that forward so that people know who we are, what we stand for, and the values that we embrace.
Thank you. Stephen Winslow.
Yes, I have a unique perspective because my family has been in New England for 400 years, but I've only been here in Malden for 30 years. So I'm both kind of old and new at the same time. And that gives me a unique perspective. One of the things I appreciated when Malden, we first moved here, was a welcoming community. We wouldn't be the diverse community we are today if we hadn't generally be welcoming, and the empathy that people who were immigrants have to incoming immigrants. But that being said, it takes real effort to be unified. And I appreciate the work of the organizations today because they represent that effort. And I think we have to insist, new and old, we all have to work together. And some of it is miscommunications. I know in our senior buildings, there's a big disconnect between our Chinese speakers and our English speakers. And it's going to take real effort to get the communications and that type of thing. So we need language access. We need understanding. We need forums like this. So it's not going to happen without being intentional about it and working on it and acknowledging it, that there are conflicts if we don't do that. So we have to make the effort to do that communications and also hear voices that may not be easily heard. So I think that's something we have to say. We have to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Luong.
I am really excited about this question because growing up in Ward 7, which I have lived on the same street since I was 4 years old and still do, and chose to raise my family here, my diverse family. It's funny because I think the best part of old Malden versus new Malden is how we embrace our past and look towards the future. But we only can do that by recognizing the differences that divide us and embrace our similarities. The similarities being that everybody wants to come together and everybody wants to be unified, but how do we do that? And how do we make it so every single person feels wanted? So my slogan, as you can tell from my campaign, is every person counts. And I truly mean that, every single person, regardless if you're old, regardless old Malden or new Malden, been here for 30 years, 5 years, 2 years, or like me since 50 years. So, it's amazing also in the past 18 months or so to see how our community did come together, old and new, with concepts and everybody working together to help everybody get through this awful pandemic. And I'm hoping to see, and I'm committed to making sure that continues not only for my ward, but for the city of Malden. Thank you.
Thank you. Nate Cupel.
Yeah, again, great question here. I think that we're really lucky here in Malden to have such incredible people, incredible leaders with the desire to serve our city. And that includes everyone. We have great generational knowledge that goes generations of families here. And those are all important pieces of the puzzle, which is our future here in the city. As Councillor Amanda Linehan mentioned earlier, we need to start where folks are. And that starts with how looking at our data, looking at the languages that we need to build into our city services and infrastructure to build an inclusive city where people feel welcome and where they have equal footing to access crucial services and resources to live productive and healthy lives. And change is hard. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we really have to move at the speed of trust here. And trust building starts with conversation, dialogue, and working together to move this community and our city forward for the best.
Thank you. And finally, Peg Crow.
Thank you, Paul. Change is really difficult in any form, even welcome change can be difficult for some people. And my mother, who had been 92 by now, always hated the phrase, the good old days. And even in her life, she acknowledged the growing pains that Malden was feeling in all forms. And this has been something bringing the old Malden, the new Malden, or, that I've been working on for many, many years. Actually, we used to, through the YWCA, actually funding from the Boston Foundation, I wrote a grant and we did Make a Mural, Make a Difference. And it brought diverse people or teens and young adults together to work on really some murals, because it was a language that some didn't even speak English, but they really worked together. And seeing them come together and actually hearing some of them that were at the high school and saying they ended up having a different lunch, but knew other people so they could go sit and have lunch with them that they did know before, really, I think makes a change. I do think we have to meet people where they are. I think we have to acknowledge their history or their newness or wherever they're coming from. And really, it does take a lot of work to work together, but We have been doing it. We are the most or second most diverse community in all of Massachusetts. And people come here because we do work together and we do it together to make a difference. So it is a lot of hard work. I think we can blend the old and the new, and I welcome both sides.
Thank you very much. It doesn't seem like anybody's arguing we should have make Malden great again hats that we should run around town wearing, okay? Sounds like we're all committed to a newer Malden and a better Malden. Let me ask another question. It's around the COVID-19 crisis, which I don't think many of us thought we'd still be here talking about it. And so after the last several years, actually now with the pandemic, almost a couple of years, we're dealing with this situation. My question is what's your assessment of how Malden has dealt with it? And by that, I mean all the aspects of it in terms of a health crisis, in terms of schools, in terms of the way it's led to sometimes confrontations between some of our citizens targeting certain populations, et cetera. And if you're critical of the way that the Malden has been handling, what some of the ways you might change the way Malden has been dealing with the COVID-19 impact on the city. And I want to begin the answers with Amanda Linehan, please.
Thank you, Professor Watanabe. So, this is a near and dear issue to me because I hear from both residents who think we've done a great job and those who think that we could have done better. And I think in a lot of ways, they're both right. I think in our country, unfortunately, local municipal officials bore the brunt of a lot of these decisions. If you decided on an indoor mask mandate, but your neighboring community didn't, then folks who move between both communities don't understand why that's different. In my day job, I worked regionally to convene a group of municipal officials so that we could start to have solutions that cross municipal borders and so that, mayors and communities in our area could kind of each have each other's back. I thought that worked really well, although imperfect. I was also really proud to be involved with Malden Neighbors, helping neighbors, providing a lot of the on-the-ground supports. We did a mailer to the city and let people know where they could get their vaccine, where they could get tested. We called hundreds of seniors. Those kind of grassroots things, while inspiring, are things that I wish our city hall had the capacity to do in greater numbers. I think we learned a lot about what we might need to do in terms of crisis planning for the next time. Being able to deploy in language, phone trees a lot faster, being able to pivot our municipal workers to work from home a lot faster. We're left with some things that are going to be good for the next time that, God forbid, we're faced with a crisis like this. I think that, as a parent of a young child who can't get the vaccine yet, we're living in very uncertain times, and it's hard to know what's the right choice when it comes to, do you go to indoor dining? Do you travel out of state? I think we're all very much doing the best we can, and that we have to trust and listen to one another as we navigate this next phase.
Thank you very much. Ryan O'Malley.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Great. COVID was a challenge for, I think, everyone. It kind of threw the playbook out the window. But our community really did come together. Particularly, the Greater Malden Asian American Community Coalition, Malden Neighbors Helping Neighbors, business owners like Stacy and Doug at District Kitchen here in Malden Center, who fed hundreds of seniors in our community. We really came together delivering meals and making sure that there were wellness checks on residents, particularly elderly residents, during the early and middle time of the pandemic. We came together working with the Board of Health and the Malden Public Housing Authority to make sure that we got residents of our public housing facilities like 120 Mountain Ave vaccines, because they, at that time, people weren't really leaving their buildings. It was really a really dangerous time. I think we've learned a lot. We can definitely do it better to make sure that we are bringing the care and the services that people need to their home, rather than letting people fend for themselves. But the community did come together, and it was community led.
Thank you very much. Jeffrey Allen Donahue.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say that Malden, all in all, did a pretty fair job. This was tough on everybody. Are there things that people could change? Absolutely. You could go back and say we should have done things a little differently. There's more we could have done, but it's uncharted territories for everyone. And I understand what Amanda was saying. You have communities like where I'm working in Waltham. I go to Lexington for a cup of coffee. You still have to wear a mask. And people walk in and you see confrontations. It's like, why do I have to wear a mask? It's not a mandate. Well, you know what? The local Board of Health wants to do that. That's just the way it is. I think the Board of Health does a great job in Malden, and the people that really kicked in and helped the community with the meals, stuff like that, like Councilor O'Malley said, helping people, that's what it's all about. I think the people that suffered the most probably are the kids. I mean, I watched my two children struggle. They're not built for that. You know, I was trying to do work on a Zoom meeting, and I've never done that in my life. And I understood what a challenge it was for me. So I just watched how that kind of really sucked the wind out of the sails of the children in the community. And they didn't want to do it. And now they're back. I've never seen any two kids more excited to go back to school, no matter what.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That your time's up. Sorry.
Thank you.
Ari Taylor, please.
Thank you so much. I have to say, I don't think any response would have been a perfect response. This kind of blindsided all of us and was very difficult to navigate. As a parent, I definitely had my challenges, and I know everybody had unique challenges. I do want to thank Malden Neighbors Helping Neighbors and community organizations like the Bread of Life for really stepping up. We saw Malden's community get up and go right from the beginning, and there was no lag. I do feel there was a bit of a disconnect with the city council getting to the point where they were delayed meetings, and that's something that I wish would have been different. I'd like to see us now start planning for the future. I mean, one thing COVID did was show us where our downfalls are and where our community needs our help the most. So I'd really like to see action plans in place so that we're not caught off guard again. Not that we could have predicted this, but we have to know where our shortcomings are and how can we address that going forward. So I definitely like to see more plans in place moving forward so that we aren't caught off guard should anything happen in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Barbara Murphy.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to make a comment. The Malden City Council from day one was working tirelessly behind the scenes. Every councilor, all 11 of us, never stopped day or night. So there might not have been a meeting, but that doesn't mean we were absent. I just want to make that very clear to the public. We had to wait until we had the technology that would allow us to meet again, but we were very active and we were very involved, as was all of City Hall. Just want to clarify that point. As to how we did, no one had a playbook. We all struggled to work through it, but there's a couple of groups I really have to say thank you to. The Board of Health worked tirelessly and still is working tirelessly, along with all of the nurses who are in our school system, who came on board to help. The teachers, I mean, when you think about the struggle that we had, that folks' parents had at home with their children, think about the struggles that the school department had, trying to organize remote learning for our students so that they didn't lose a full year. The teachers had to learn all new applications, had to learn how to reach out to the students to make sure that they had the Chromebooks, to get deliveries of thousands of Chromebooks to keep our city up and running. Everyone came on board. No one deserves any fault for this. Are there areas that we can learn from? Absolutely. But whether it's the Board of Health, the IT department, the police, the fire, the schools, Malden Helping Neighbors, GMAC, all of the Arab Women's Association, the restaurants who fed people, it was all hands on deck. And I have to say, I am very proud of each and every one of the Malden people who were boots on the ground to make us survive as a community. We should all be very proud. We should take the time to kind of do a debrief and little, backwards moratorium on what could we do better if, God forbid, this ever happened again. But all in all, I'm proud of what we did.
Thank you. Stephen Winslow.
Yeah, I'm also very proud of what we did. I think anybody on the council or in the city faced a need, tried to figure out a way to address that. I know personally, I was reading the science and reports about how nursing homes were being impacted. So I called Malden Housing and the Board of Health to make sure that visitors were limited in our senior housing to help protect our seniors in the early days. And I really credit my due from the GMAC for getting masks that I was able to direct to our housing authority cleaning staff to help protect our seniors too. So that was just one way I did that. I give credit to the Board of Health. We tracked what was going on in various communities when our African-American community was falling down behind on vaccines. We made a special effort and outreach for that so that we could increase there. I think one of the big things was rental relief. Malden did an amazing job of making sure our residents who lost their jobs due to COVID got rental relief. We led the Massachusetts in that, and very innovative model. So I think we did a lot. And we'll continue to do that, working with businesses like the events over the summer. So we continue. We still have to recover. We're doing better, but we did a very good job for the city of our size and the diversity and the workforce and residents we have. So I think we did a wonderful job, and always can learn, but we did what we could in a unusual and unexpected situation. Thanks.
Oh, sorry, Michelle, I was muted. Sorry, Michelle Luong, sorry.
That's okay, thank you. You know, in times of strife and times like this, that this was just an unprecedented situation, it can either bring out the worst in people or the best in people. And I'm so proud to see that it brought out the best in people. I got to meet and work with people that I hadn't had a chance to work with. As a school committee member, we had to make decisions in whether it was purchasing thousands and thousands of Chromebooks and how do we get them out to those families and how do we do it efficiently. And it was wonderful for neighbors helping neighbors to step in and help that, and to help us, and to have people pitch in together. It didn't matter who you were, where you were delivering Chromebooks, you were helping to deliver food. My husband and I own a medical engraving company. So, you know, when the call came that we needed masks quickly, we cut mask material so other people could sew them. And these people I have never met. And, and I've seen them since, and it's been the wonderful part to work together. I do think that we need to look to see, what changes came about and what can we embrace on that. From a school standpoint, all of the children now have Chromebooks. We do have to, bring forth more mental health services within our city to help people to move forward out of this pandemic and as we move forward.
Thank you very much. Nate Cupel.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would echo just about everything folks have said here, that our city, city leadership, our small business, our city officials, our teachers all did some really wonderful work to ensure in a really uncertain time that we are looking out for the best interests of all of our residents here. I also think, as others have shared, that some of the innovations that have come from working through the pandemic, whether it's hybrid meetings where we are able to increase our language translation and access, to more of a focus on mental health and the emotional impact of social isolation, which we already knew before the pandemic was linked to long-term chronic disease for seniors and for our young people, that I think we all need to pay attention to as we move forward. I also think that, as we bounce back from the COVID crisis, we need to start thinking about really long-term planning about the impact that this past year and a half has had on our community. Racism is something that I know has come out of this past year and a half. We had a Malden High School petition about a year ago calling out racism as a real issue in the school. We have our city calling racism a public health crisis. I really think that we need to think about how we build out some of these services to address.
Okay, thank you, Nate. Sorry,
Yep,
your time's
thank
up.
you. Yep.
Peg Crow.
Hang on, something happened to my computer.
No, you're on.
But I can't see any of you, so we'll just go with that one. But I too am really proud of how Malden handled this. It hasn't, something like this hasn't happened in 100 years. I think everyone thought it was going to be 2 weeks, we're going to close down, we're going to clean up, and then we're going to get back to normal. And, could we have done more? I think coulda, woulda, shoulda is something that, we really can't revisit. I do think that we were all sort of left to our own devices, as Michelle had said, the school committee and what was happening in the schools. It was you could, you couldn't, and you had to kind of figure it out yourself. The Malden Board of Health was amazing, and they took the bull by the horns and made some difficult decisions. Again, it really does bring out the best in us and the worst in us, and sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, and we sort of figured out how to get things done. Like people have mentioned, neighbors, Malden Neighbors Helping Neighbors stepped up and organized themselves pretty quickly. Actually, one of them had said to me that they didn't have that much interaction with me because they didn't get that many requests from Ward 1. And I said, because actually as ward councilors, people have relationships with us. So I was delivering the food. I was checking in on them. I was helping them with unemployment applications, with anything that needs to happen. And it's really about constituent services for a ward counselor in many ways. And so even through this pandemic, I think a lot of people reached out to ward counselors, but everybody pulled together. And it shouldn't be he said, she said, who did what? We all have to do it together. It's kind of like that first question about the old Malden and new Malden. If we don't pull it together, we're never going to move forward. So I'm proud of what we did. And I know that we'll be better prepared. Hope to God we never have to go through something like this again. But I know we've seen what we can do when we need to, and we'll do better going forward.
Thank you. Glenn Curtis.
Can you hear me? We good?
Yes.
Okay. Unfortunately, there was no playbook. I think we dealt with this, in the best manner possible. The community came together in times of crisis. Like the city often looks to state or federal government for support, but we didn't have that luxury at this time. But we managed to do fine. Were there challenges? Yes, but I believe Malden was able to work with various organizations like churches, hospitals, and coordinate the best approach with housing, and made everything possible. Going forward, we probably could look at this experience and use key lessons to mitigate any future crisis. I'd also like to thank all the frontline workers who were out there. They didn't have that opportunity to work remotely, but still managed to do a great job. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we're going to take a little break here, but for a minute or two, not a long one. And by the way, it's Tampa Bay 5, Red Sox 2, I believe. So you might as well stay here. A lot more exciting right here in this debate. But I want to take a little break and have Karen and May say something about the upcoming election and urge you to vote and come out. And I want to take a little break for about a minute or two. So Karen, May, you want to talk something about the vote and remind people to turn out on November 2nd.
Okay. May I could say a couple of things first about the polls are open, as I hope people know, 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. People can early vote at the city clerk's office on the second floor at City Hall until 11/1, November 1st at 12 noon. You can go in and do early voting. And the deadline for mail-in voting or absentee voting is you have to apply for the application October 27th. Has to be picked up by 5 p.m. And then your application to do a mail-in, and then your absentee or mail-in has to be at the city clerk's office by 8 p.m. November 2nd. And I didn't get the polls, but just that information.
Well, thank you very much. And turn out to vote definitely in this town. It sounds like it's an off-year election, and usually turnouts are not that great, and it should be the opposite in my view. I'm a political scientist, and I focus a lot on elections. But believe me, I think the turnout, the role that these people that are on the screen here play today in their very lives are as important, if not more important, than those people in Washington, D.C. So I hope you really will take the opportunity to know these people and vote for them.
I hope so too.
Okay, we're going to start with questions again.
Okay.
And these are some that have come from various sponsors and from the audience as well. And I want to begin with a question. It's going to be directed at Ryan O'Malley, who's going to be the first responder. And that is the question of climate change is one that's confronting a lot of communities. And my question is, do you see that climate change is an important issue for Malden? And if so, is there a role for Malden to play at the local level in trying to address the impact of climate change? Let's begin with Ryan O'Malley with the first response, please.
Thank you very much. I think that we've had a pretty crazy year with precipitation, and we were in a drought prior to that for a couple of years. So I think that the extreme weather that we're experiencing is definitely an indication of climate change. We see flooding on sunny days now in parts of Boston. And the only reason Malden is not underwater is because we have the Amelia Earhart Dam on the Mystic River. So it's absolutely an issue. Ways that we can address this is with a climate action plan, which we desperately need. We're talking about adding, and we did pass a zoning amendment to create a green permeable buffer along the Malden River. That will not only bring recreational facilities where people can walk and fish recreationally, but it will also allow some protection against storm surges. I'm also the chair and the founding member of the Community Forestry Committee, which aims to bring more street trees to our community to lower the temperatures, as well as just beautify and cool down our community.
Terrific, thank you. Jeffrey Donahue.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you see me? I am not an expert on climate change. I mean, there's varied opinions on it. It's more of a scientific thing, but I know we do have some climate problems in Malden. People have been speaking on flooding down in Ward 8 for a long time down, and I think there's some spots in Ward 6 as well on the other side of Eastern Ave. And I know we've had problems with the water gates down in Revere. The tides seem to be getting higher and higher in that area. But you got to bear in mind, Linden, I grew up in Linden until I was 12 years old. That was built on a swamp. You take the post office area up near us, that was built over a culvert. There's a culvert that runs right through Malden Square. I think we just have to take pragmatic approaches when we do development and make sure that we're not impacting our own environment with it. You know what I mean? It's very easy to say we've done a traffic study. We've done a study where no more water can come off your property than comes off prior to the development. But realistically, can our infrastructure actually contain some of these things? And is it built to hold some of the new developments that are going on? You know what I mean? It's a tough issue. There are some challenges, but I think a lot of it for us as a city, I mean, nationwide, everyone, like I say, everyone's got their opinion. For us, I think it's just to take a look at what are we doing to make sure that when we do something in the city, we're doing it the right way to not impact our neighborhoods and our neighbors. It's a tough one.
Great, Ari Taylor.
Thank you so much. So we absolutely need a climate action plan in Malden, and it's really upsetting to me that we haven't come up with one yet, that this isn't already in place, and moving forward, this should be a #1 priority for the council. Mainly, there's a lot that we can do to retrofit our buildings to ensure that we are mitigating our emissions and our carbon footprints. And I think that's where, this is absolutely an issue that is pertinent to Malden and needs to be addressed immediately, first starting with a climate action plan. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Barbara Murphy.
Thank you. Well, there's a number of very interesting things going on in Malden, and one of them is the work that is going on with Malden River Works, which is a group of folks who have come together from all different areas of Malden, all different nationalities, and we are working on the DPW site. And we've been working on a master plan for that site to actually create a climate resilient area that we would hopefully be able to mirror up and down the river. The project was so impressive that we received the MIT Leventhal grant. And we've just received 2 MVP Municipal Vulnerability Project grants to continue our work. It basically redefines what a waterfront area would look like, including bioswales to be able to clean water, rainwater that comes in, water that's running off the street, and also provide a park that would be enjoyable for folks for a number of reasons, as well as a new area for our cruise site. So that's very interesting. And there's also been, a number of things that have been done on the city council to help with climate change in our carbon footprint. The council passed a stretch energy bill that requires, contractors to do work that will create, stretch energy bill. We also have retrofitted most of our schools and city hall with the grant that we received. So we're working very hard to.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. Your time's up. Sorry.
Thanks.
Stephen Winslow.
Yeah, this is very important to folks in Ward 6. We've had many people flooded this year. So I already, last week, I held a climate forum at Malden Catholic. I will put a link up if you want to watch that. But we have increasing flooding due to rain in many of our neighborhoods. And we also have the threat of sea level rise. So you can see that through that forum. I have also been a strong proponent and had a previous forum on a sustainable transportation. That's why the city, we need to have a transportation plan going forward that looks at all modes. We don't know what transportation is going to look like in 20 years. We're not going to be riding around in fossil fuel spilling cars. So what is it? The mix of electric vehicles, buses, micro mobility like bikes and walking and e-bikes. We need to be forward thinking and not just turn down these increasing challenges, and we need to face those challenges and just not deny that we need to do something. Bus and bike lanes can be used by e-bikes and scooters that are becoming more popular, and they're a lot cheaper than a Tesla. So we need to be thinking of the future and be looking forward on climate change, or we will be literally swamped. A third of Malden will be underwater. So I'm very committed to this issue. Thank you.
Michelle Luong.
I first just wanted to absolutely commend you, Steve, for having that recent climate forum at Malden Catholic. It was full of information, and it's exactly what we need to have the start of these conversations that absolutely 100% need to happen. We need to have that client action plan in place to prepare our city for the future. We also, we have to remember, we got caught off guard with COVID and how that pandemic absolutely wreaked havoc in our city. But now we can plan ahead so that this crisis doesn't have to be as harmful as COVID was. So I really look forward to being part of the conversation, part of the solution, and working together so that we can come up with a plan that's going to secure our future for generations to come.
Great. Nate Kupel.
Yeah, I just want to first again thank Councilor Winslow and the many city leaders and community members here who have been part of really pushing for us to look at our climate change. Again, we have been seeing it here in Malden, from flooding to increased rainfall. We really need to have a plan, a climate action plan, as folks have been saying earlier. We can't wait for things to get worse. I care about and know that air quality is something here in Ward 8 that a lot of folks have to contend with Route 1 on one side and Broadway. Poor air quality, as we know, can lead to increased childhood asthma rates and more. I think one of the things I'm excited for is the president earlier this year signed an executive order looking at climate change opportunities at the municipal level, dedicating a number of resources towards climate change programs and services and initiatives. This is funding that I think that we should be ready for at the city level, and be ready to take advantage of ways to address our CO2 footprint here in the city.
Thank you, Peg Crow.
Thank you. We all have a role to play in combating climate change. And I do think that, as others have said, I'm very in support of figuring out a climate action plan. And unfortunately, a couple of wards could not be at the climate forum that Councilor Winslow had, because we were doing other things at the moment. But meaning we had another debate, but I think, the whole Riverworks project, which sits in Ward 1, I'm so excited about that. And it really is going to be the number one primo to show how we can really make the Malden River exciting and climate resilient, and doing all the work around that. I know all of the councils have supported the work and amending the zoning that established consistent standards for any potential development on the properties that abut the Malden River. And so I think that's the first step, and we need to do a lot more on a lot of different areas. And I always feel like, as Councilor Winslow had talked about, sort of multi-modes of transportation and carbon emissions, is we don't want to be the city of no. We need to have our minds open, but really look at each and every plan and make sure that we can move forward with it, so that it does make Malden climate resilient, that it does help combat the climate change that we're experiencing, and that we can all get behind it and move forward.
Great. Glenn Curtis. Glenn Curtis, are you there?
Yes. Hello. We good?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Climate change needs to be addressed, and we need to, continue to push the use of renewable energy, continue implementation, and expansion, green space, planting more trees. As someone who is in the trades, we need city planners to improve building codes to react to climate change, in order to, secure a greener future for our children. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Linehan.
Thank you. I want to be crystal clear. I think climate change is the defining issue for our generation. As a city, we have made strides in recent years, but I think we need to do more, and we need to do it faster. We have added things like electric vehicle charging stations. We've added EVs to our municipal fleet. I know we've upgraded the energy efficiency of our HVAC systems in both our schools and our public housing. And we've added non-polluting transportation method infrastructure like bike lanes, bike parking, dedicated bus lanes downtown that can be used by transit or emergency vehicles. And we've installed LED streetlights, which is actually a pretty cool project that I got to work on and part of my day job before I was even elected to public office. But I know we can do more. I'd really like to see us get serious about exploring municipal aggregation, which is where we would purchase electricity in bulk in order to realize competitive rates to afford cleaner energy. And I think that we need to make it easier across the city for people to choose walking, biking, and transit for any kind of trip. I was proud to co-write grants for all of those things this past year, reducing traffic and emissions while costing Malden taxpayers absolutely nothing. I've already fought for and brought more bike racks to our schools, and I'd like to see us do more to accommodate scooters and the cargo bikes that you're starting to see a lot around town, especially downtown. I'd like to see us expand outreach for solar and heat pumps, and that's to all residents, whether they own or rent and whatever their income is. I really think that we need to have an energy coordinator on the city staff, and that we have to be following the recommendations of our municipal vulnerability plan so that we make sure that the city is ready for a change in climate. As a mom, I can't ignore what this means for future generations, but I really don't think you should have to have kids or grandkids to understand the urgency here. And to be honest, I just feel like if you don't have a concrete plan on this at this point, it's totally unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you. And I must say, the last time I spoke, I barely got the words out of my mouth that the Red Sox did hit back-to-back home runs. So it's 5-4. So maybe I'll wait again and say something later when they need a couple more runs. Here's another question, and we're going to begin with Jeffrey Donahue to answer this question. It's about affordable housing. What is your position on affordable housing, and how the city, including the city council, have addressed the issue of affordable housing? And what do you think should be done in terms of, should there be an eviction moratorium continued in Malden as the federal one has expired? And is there a role for the city to play in the development of affordable housing in a way that it hasn't done so or is doing so now and wants to continue? So, Mr. Donahue, affordable housing is the issue.
Well, I mean, I think the Malden took a huge step forward with the adoption of the inclusionary zoning. The thing about we do our part in Malden with 40B. Our numbers are really good, but affordable housing right now, it's market driven. This is kind of a problem I see is with affordability. Like we have projects going in and you set aside your 15% or your 12% of housing for affordable residents. And then, you know, they set their parameters on what the money may be that you can make per capita. And they seem extremely low as to what they're getting for rent or what they're getting for a mortgage. So it's hard. I bought my house 20 years ago and it's over doubled in value. Is that great for me? Absolutely. It's not great for my children. I worry about the generation behind us and how they're going to afford anything. We have to do more. We're in a community where, you know, we're building a great foundation with the inclusionary zoning plan, but how do we do more? I mean, you have developments going downtown that upwards of 12 stories, they're paying, what are they paying? Some of them are $2,500 to $2,700 a month for a 1-bedroom. That's a mortgage in most communities. How can you afford that? I think we really have to take a good hard look and how we're moving forward and setting up plans. You know, when we did the project on, I can't think of the name of the street, Irving Street, I think it was, not Irving, where the smoke shop is in Malden Square now. They put artist housing down there. We bought that, took it over, put the artist housing in there, and you can sell it at an affordable rate, or you can work with the redevelopment authority, which is now under the city. They had a first-time home buyers program that helped a lot of people get into that building. I don't think that program is being utilized anymore in Malden. I could be wrong, but you have to have programs like that walk people through the process. You get pre-approved.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
Ari Taylor. Sorry. Ari Taylor.
Thank you so much. So I am a massive advocate for affordable housing, and I believe that Malden has made a lot of good strides. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund is one great way to go. I do agree we need to bring back the down payment assistance, the first-time home buyers assistance, things like that, more deed restricted properties for home ownership and affordable home ownership to keep Malden families in our community. As a realtor, it always saddens me when someone reaches out and they say, I'd really love to buy in Malden, but unfortunately I'm going to have to go up to New Hampshire. I'm going to have to go, you know, further out west or you know, some other part of Massachusetts because it's just not affordable. We do have the 30% reduction for residential taxes, which makes it slightly more affordable than some of the other neighboring cities, but I do think we can do more. One of those things I think we need to be looking at is our rentals and holding our landlords accountable, making sure that affordability is so much more than just the rent that you pay. It's the condition of the unit that we're renting out and the utilities that go into that. And I do believe that we need to be holding people accountable to make sure that those units are affordable in every aspect. And that's one thing that I think we can do.
Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank
Taylor.
you.
Thank you. Barbara Murphy.
Thank you very much. I too am committed to creating and preserving more affordable housing. One of the things that's happened recently, and I'm very happy to see, is that the Malden Redevelopment Authority is now part of the city, and some of their focus will be on housing stability. One of the things I'd like to see more of is opportunity for more affordable home ownership. And most recently, one of the MRA folks, Evans Petrini and Nelson Miller, our building inspector, were able to secure a $100,000 grant to hire a housing inspector who is currently investigating vacant, foreclosed, and abandoned homes. The goal is to collaborate with developers is to purchase and rehab these properties in order to rent or sell them as deed-restricted affordable housing to income-qualified households. That is a huge first step for us. And it will actually, you know, just make the community much better. Plus, the other thing that happened recently, which I was proud to be a part of, is Habitat for Humanity came into Malden. We have 2 homes in Ward 4 that are currently almost done. It's taken a little while because of COVID, but I want to say the council, spent a day out there learning how to put studs together and put up walls. It was a fun team building day for us, but it also, gave us, a feeling of being part of, an effort that will help your first-time home buyer in our city. We are actually, I think, doing the right thing. We're on the right track. Our housing strategies have actually been featured in the Boston Sunday Globe. Is there more work to do? Absolutely. The inclusionary zoning ordinance was just passed, another thing that I supported and am very proud of. So I look forward to working with the community to find different ways to make sure that we have affordable housing in this city, whether it's home ownership or rental. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stephen Winslow.
Yeah, this is an issue that's been building and Malden for literally decades. And unfortunately, many people in the city decided to duck this when we had the opportunity to add inclusionary zoning in the past. I'm happy to have been a lead author of that and have worked with my fellow councilors now to have that unanimously passed, but it has to be intentional. I've worked with other communities that have community development corporations. I'm very impressed by the work that Asian Community Development Corporation has done in Boston and Chinatown to build affordable housing and save the core and heart of that community. We need to think of that same approach in Malden, and I'm glad ACDC is working with us. I was very impressed by Somerville Community Development Corporation. My own daughter is getting a chance to buy an affordable home in Somerville because of the long-term work. So we have to get to it. Now we have some tools, our community preservation fund, inclusionary zoning, the effort to rehab homes that Barbara mentioned, but we need to get to it. And we're only gonna do stuff by moving forward and building, and rather than trying to say, oh, we've done our share. We need to keep affordable housing here in Malden, or we will be a different community where families can no longer stay here because it's just too expensive. So we need to keep Malden an affordable place to raise a family. Thanks.
Thank you. Michelle Luong.
I think we all have the same ideas and the same support for all of the initiatives that are currently in place, from the inclusionary zoning to all the things that Barbara mentioned and Steve mentioned. And one of the other things I want to put forth is that 2 things. One, we also have generations of people that have never owned a property. They don't have anybody to help them to walk through that. So what I would love to see with the Malden redevelopment being inside city is for us to do a series of workshops that help people in Malden that have never purchased properties before know what the process is and safely know that process. And number 2, we also need to get with our landlords and teach our landlords the benefits of renting to people with housing vouchers. There's myths and untruths, and there's benefits to doing that. And there's benefits to both the person that's holding the voucher and to the landlord as well.
Thank you. Nate Cupel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, we're all saying the same thing, which is that we here in Malden have seen too many people who can't afford their rent, too many who were at risk of losing their homes, the roofs over their heads. Affordable housing, inclusionary zoning, those are all really crucial tools in our toolkit to address the housing shortage and affordable housing at large. I also agree, like others have stated, that we have some wonderful community partnerships with organizations such as ABCD, Asian Community Development Corporation, Housing Families, Malden Housing Families, that minimally, I think as a city, we can work to ensure that our struggling families and individuals have roofs over their heads. And I also agree, we need to build more programs to increase home ownership, to build generational wealth in our communities. And I'll just say one last thing, which is that I think this is just one piece of a puzzle that we can't afford to be siloed about. Housing is just one part of the puzzle that includes many other things like income, job access, and many more. So thank you.
Thank you, Peg Crow.
Thank you. And really, housing affordability it really is an issue for so many, and affordability is very different for each person in their circumstances. What's affordable to you might not be affordable to me. And so the solutions need to be multi-pronged too. As everyone has said, about the inclusionary zoning, as Council Winslow said, it was a long time coming, and it should have been happened earlier. I think that I am really encouraged by the Malden Redevelopment Authority that's now under the city in their focus on housing. And I think all the councilors have supported a grant writer to be able to help secure some of those funding that are going to be available for housing. I'm very fortunate to be able to have purchased my family home where I still live. And I do think that affordable home ownership is kind of key in some of these areas. And I support anything that helps people get to that point. And I think the Affordable Housing Trust is making tremendous progress in the mission of maintaining and create opportunities for affordable housing so Malden remains vibrant, a diverse community where residents and families can stay and thrive. And that's what we all want. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn Curtis.
I hear this all the time, about affordable housing, but I also hear we want to increase green space, reduce traffic, have cleaner air. Malden is already, one of the most dense communities in the state. The city recently passed, inclusionary zoning, which will help, any new development. My approach would be, to redevelop existing commercial properties, and introduce more affordable residential housing. In order to build wealth, we need to, encourage more home ownership and less investment properties. As someone who is in the trades, I meet a lot of people, who are in the situation, and I would support extending this, eviction moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Amanda Linehan.
Thank you. So I think the city has a.
They're all saying.
We have some background noise. Everything okay?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So as I was saying, I think that the city has a very key role to play in affordable housing, and I think we have to be tackling it both regionally and locally. We've done a lot of good things. We have a lot going on good right now, like starting the Affordable Housing Trust Fund that others have mentioned, as well as finally passing inclusionary zoning that makes sure that future developments do have that affordable component. And I was very proud to co-sponsor that this year. I actually fought long and hard for that several years ago when, Councilors DeMaria and O'Malley first proposed it. And honestly, watching it fail was a huge thing that pushed me into politics. And I just kept thinking during the pandemic, imagine if we had that in place already. I'm very proud to have served on the board of directors for both ACDC and the MRA prior to serving on the council, since both of those organizations create and preserve affordable housing. And I'm very proud now to be chairing the committee that's overseeing the $4 million that we're getting in federal recovery money, which will go towards housing issues. And we have plans to immediately put that to work, creating affordable home ownership opportunities and rehabbing vacant properties around the city. I think it's extremely necessary that we've kept the eviction moratorium in place, and that really the next step is that we need to be reaching out and listening to the kind of nonprofit developers and CDCs who are in a position and know how to put together that funding stack for any future proposals that come to us, and figure out how we can lower barriers for them working in our community. I think we currently serve kind of the extremes of the market pretty well. We address folks in crisis and get them to shelter. And then of course, we've built plenty of market rate units, which does add to our tax revenue, but it leaves us missing that kind of middle income band. And that's what I'd like to see us really seriously tackle next.
Okay, thank you very much. Ryan O'Malley.
Thank you very much. This has been a problem for decades. And, it's nice that my opponent has acknowledged the success of the work that we've done on the city council recently, inclusionary zoning, for instance. We get things done. And I only wonder how many residents of our community and how many seniors we could have kept in our community had this been done 20 years ago when he was on the council. But unfortunately, there are certain supporters of his and members of the council currently who voted against this in 2016 when Councilor Di Maria and I tried to do this. Affordable homeownership opportunities is crucial to building wealth in our community. The ideal circumstance is for you to own your own home, pay yourself, and that's how you really build up your financial viability and support. I am very thankful to have brought Habitat for Humanity to Malden on a parcel on Main Street, which had been a blight for over 20 years or more. I think working together with our community and with our colleagues is how you get things done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There is a series of questions that's come in from the audience, and I want to sort of combine two of them together. I wonder if we can get another round of questions in before we have closing statements. And they focus on the question of homelessness and this question of opioid crisis in Malden, if there is one. And do you think there is such a problem with homelessness and the opioid crisis? And what do you think Malden should be doing that it's not doing already in terms of addressing this? I want to begin with Ari Taylor.
Thank you so much for this question. I absolutely believe there's a problem with homelessness and the opioid crisis in Malden, and we're so lucky to have organizations like the Warming Center and Malden Overcoming Addiction to help us handle these issues. But we need a focus on mental health. We need a focus on ensuring people have the best quality of life that they possibly can. And that all leads to feeling better, doing better, and being able to achieve more. I think that the city is going in the right direction. I'm very happy with it. I would like to see, like I said, more of an emphasis on aiding with Malden Overcoming Addiction. But I think, we're headed in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Murphy.
Thank you. Yes, we do have a homelessness issue, and we certainly have an opioid issue. I actually sit on the Malden's opioid task force. We had a meeting yesterday. And, unfortunately, at each monthly meeting, we hear about different statistics of overdoses, the use of Narcan. Yesterday, we had our meeting was with Melrose Wakefield Hospital, and we're trying to work together collaboratively to deal with overdoses that happen in Malden and individuals who go to the hospital and then turn around and are back in our city within hours without getting help, mostly not because Melrose Wakefield isn't trying to give it to them, but the people don't want it. So we are working diligently on that. One of the things that came out of our opioid task force meeting was Malden Cares, which is a new initiative which started June 28th. If you go to the Malden station, you'll see a banner. You'll see a number of folks there who are there daily for 2 hours a day. And from starting to just talk to people about drugs, that table has expanded to homelessness, mental health issues, food insecurity, and any type of social help you could possibly want. We are really trying to reach out to the community. We're working with Malden Overcoming Addiction. We're working with the Malden Warming Center. And we're also, trying to work with the bridge and also the families that are impacted by having somebody who is addicted, substance user disorder. So Malden is, I think, at the front and center of coming up with programs that will really help us try to fight this serious addiction problem that's not just in Malden, but is happening throughout our country. It in itself results in homelessness, although there are many other aspects that bring someone to homelessness. Addiction is certainly one of them. And
thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry. Stephen Winslow, please.
Yeah, I know, Barbara, that was very thorough on the opioid crisis. I mean, it's great to see that we've expanded our efforts by, supporting opioid coaches and, a coordinator in the city, the opening of the Bridge Center, the warming center. These are all great initiatives that have happened in the city, and there's continued to be more work. And bringing Elliott Service, I applaud Councilor Crowe for helping to secure that grant. As we move forward, we have to make sure we continue to have these resources. In terms of homelessness, again, that turns back to affordable housing. That's why I've joined the Affordable Housing Trust, and to make sure that we have that resource that, prior to COVID, we were out there in the streets with residents. We're on the verge of eviction because of increasing rents, or people who have been constructively evicted because their landlords are not maintaining their buildings. So that's another aspect, is making sure we're keeping landlords to make sure they keep their buildings habitable, and working to make sure that the affordable housing that we have is kept and secured, and that we expand that as much as possible. So there is displacement is caused by rising rents, but there are also a lot of people that are homeless because of addiction and other type of things. So I think we're doing a lot, but we always need more resources. The state over the years has defunded so much of mental health services and that type of thing, and that all falls onto our police, our fire, and that's why we need mental health and opioid services to help those folks, in our public safety sector, to have the resources to do this, because it's not necessarily their wheelhouse. So thank you.
Michelle Wong.
I could recap everything the last two counselors said, but I do believe that Malden is working in the right direction. I absolutely support and would continue to support Malden Overcoming Addiction, Malden Cares, and all the initiatives the current council has put into place and is working towards. On the flip side of that, I would also like to see increased education for our young kids and our young people in our city, to try and prevent them from entering into that crisis of opioid. And how can we put programs in place that really target our youth before actually coming into that unfortunate path. And I understand it's a disease, and hopefully we can try and catch that before it takes hold. In terms of homelessness, I believe that, it does go back to affordable housing, and it does go back to the stigma around homelessness, and around that somebody's not a good renter because they've been homeless. They need a chance, and we need to really encourage these housing vouchers, and we need to encourage landlords to take people as they are, and to know that just because somebody was homeless doesn't make them not a good candidate for rental. It should do the reverse. And in terms of the other part of it that's really going to make a difference is that we need to continue to stop the stigma around addiction. Addiction is affected every one of our lives in some way. And we just really need to all come together as a team and as a community to really fight this crisis and move ourselves forward and continue the good efforts that we've already been on the path of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nate Cupel.
Yeah, this similarly is with my social work hat on, something that I care an awful lot about. We absolutely are still dealing with a nationwide opioid crisis. People are suffering, and to reiterate, we do have a stigma not only about housing, but about seeking professional help when it comes to addiction services. I have had conversations with at least one or two residents who, we're a small city, right? And there's a fear of asking for help and being recognized for having an addiction problem when you go to seek out treatment. We need to add additional services such as mental health, substance use, mobile health clinics, increasing our services around mental health first aid for bystanders and medication assisted treatment accessibility to address addiction as a disease in our community. And also, as Michelle mentioned, I also agree that we need to also be thinking about how addiction functions in our schools, and ensuring that we're bringing the appropriate level of education, awareness, and programming to ensure that our children are safe and limited exposure to substances like these.
Thank you, Peg Crow.
Thank you again. And I agree with everyone that has spoken before me that, homelessness and opioid addiction is our concerns in our community. And people like groups like Malden Overcoming Addictions, who has been doing so much tremendous work in our community, and the Bridge Recovery Center, which is right on Commercial Street in Ward 1, that really works with people that are in recovery to give them the skills, the supports, and the training they need to kind of move on with their life. And the Malden Cares, that's from Malden Overcoming Addictions. And I sit on the public health ARPA funds from Malden. So I'm very excited that we were able to fund them to extend that care. As Councilor Murphy had said, the down at Malden Center Station, really talking to people and being there and being a resource. And I know that in the time that they've been there, they've seen 20 people that were coming in and coming out either of hospitals or everything else, but that they got them into services. And I just want to read really quickly a text that I got from someone from the Malden Cares that I was talking to on one day, just yesterday or the other day. And she said, I just wanted to let you know, right after I saw you, a 20-year-old female walked up to me and said, I knew you were going to be here. I need treatment and I need it today. So this person from Malden Cares and another person, we are transporting her to Danvers to detox in 15 minutes, and she's going to get the help that she needs. I think these are, we need to impact people. They always say it one person at a time. And I think we need to do that, and we need to continue doing this and work together to make sure that this happens for our homeless population and those that are addicted or in recovery. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn Curtis.
As someone who has lost a family member to the opioid crisis, the issue, it hits close to home. After many years of trying to get help, he hit rock bottom and ended up homeless. I'm not aware that Malden is in a homeless crisis yet, but that doesn't mean, we shouldn't partner up with integrated healthcare, work to strengthen crisis response systems and building better partnerships with community partners, such as MOA, Malden Warming Center, Malden Police, Bridge Over Troubled Waters, and family support. I mean, that's huge. These groups can help, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Linehan.
Thank you. Tragically, we do know that both housing insecurity and addiction issues are on the increase in our society and in our city these days. And I think in many ways it's been exacerbated by the pandemic. I know that there is a problem with homelessness because unfortunately I see it all the time in my ward. And I know it's also ever present in our school population. Homelessness can literally mean sleeping on the street, but it can also mean sleeping in cars or couch surfing. And what I've learned is that it's often invisible. Now, our police and our health and human services staff have been a huge help to me and many other counselors in cases like this, but I do think we need a little bit more capacity in that regard. I think we're very fortunate to have organizations that so many others have mentioned, like Malden Overcoming Addiction, the Bridge Recovery Center, the Opioid Task Force, and Malden Cares. And of course, we also have a full-time outreach coordinator and resource specialist in City Hall who can help address these intertwined issues and help counselors understand them and direct us to the services that we need to get to our constituents. But I think the bottom line is that we do need more addiction supports and behavioral health capacity in our area to address the multifaceted aspects of these challenges. Unfortunately, I also have faced some of these issues in my own family, and so I do know how devastating and all-consuming it can be to try and assist loved ones getting help that they need. We have long wait times in our emergency departments getting mental health help, and we have long wait lists for our senior housing, in some cases stretching 5 to 10 years right here in Malden. And unfortunately, I think that until we take seriously the need to create more affordable opportunities and to help folks age in place and for people of all ages to access services that they need, we're still going to be facing these same issues over and over again. And I want to see Malden really step up and be excellent caretakers of the most vulnerable in our community and to put the resources that we need towards those things, even if it means making tough choices.
Thank you very much. Ryan O'Malley.
Thank you. You know, when it comes to opioid addiction and in unhoused individuals in our community, it is absolutely a problem. I'm lucky to call the founder of Malden Overcoming Addiction a friend. Paul Hammersley and his organization have brought back so many people from the brink, and Malden would not be where it is today, and this would not be a conversation happening the way we're having it right now if it wasn't for that organization. When it comes to homelessness and in my particular ward, I've personally brought backpacks with warm clothes and gloves to these unhoused individuals, particularly in Quartermilly Park, which is the park directly across from the post office, in the pool. I've spoken to a number of police officers and community members about this in terms of the challenges that they're facing. And their primary calls are related to mental health crises and substance abuse and other related medical emergencies. And they need the support, they need the medical training, they need the support of social workers, which is why I am a huge supporter and really thankful to Ward 1 Councilor Peg Crow. She did bring the community clinician integration program with Elliott Human Services to our community, and they're working hand in hand with the police to address some of these challenges. Homelessness, the only way we're going to address that is by the affordable homeownership opportunity that we talked about earlier.
Thank you very much. And I think, thank you all. And time for the final comments. And we were going to give you a minute. Can we take 30 seconds instead? I think we've heard plenty from you, but if it's an opportunity, if you can, then we fit right on time. So I want to begin the closing comments with Barbara Murphy. If you take a little less than a minute, then we can fit in under our time. So thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Barbara Murphy for closing comment.
You can see and hear me, okay. Well, over my time in office, I've brought a thoughtful and reasoned voice to the Malden City Council, which has laid the foundation for the collaboration needed for us to deliver for you. I have balanced the needs of Ward 5 with the needs of the city and have done so in a responsible way. As a city councilor who has served through the lean years, through a pandemic, and through the unrest across our nation, I've adapted my approach and my focus where it needs to be to meet the moment. I believe I have been there for Malden and Ward 5, and I remain as energized and committed to continuing to do so as the day I took office. I would humbly ask that you vote for me on November 2nd to continue to be Ward 5 City Councilor and continue to move Malden forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Winslow.
Yeah, thank you to Chinese Cultural Connection, Arab American Women's Association, Malden Reads, GMAC, and the partners today. I really look forward to the day where I can come once again to many of your in-person events, which I've done over the years. I don't know why my opponent didn't come tonight, but I think one of the things I focus on is an equity and inclusion. And one part of that is being out there in the community to hear different voices. So I'm very committed to that. And when I hear and see disparities, I will raise those. And I appreciate the organizations who are participating in that, because you are folks that I'm learning more about the diversity of our community. I'm learning a lot, and I committed to that. So equity inclusion is always part of the lens I use. I am forward thinking. I really want to see and hear and think, and then move forward and achieve more together with you. So I humbly ask that those of you in Ward 6 vote for Steve Winslow for Malden City Councilor. Those of you in other parts of the city, let your friends know in Ward 6 to vote in the Maplewood area for Steve Winslow for Ward 6 City Councilor. And thanks again. Bye.
Thank you. Michelle Luong.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much to everybody that organized this event and to all the fellow panelists that took the time out of their schedule to be here. It's so imperative that our city and the voters get to hear from each and every one of us. To my ward voters, your fears, concerns, and hopes matter to me. I have been asked so many times, why would you vote for me? And the bottom line is, I'm here. I've always been here. I will work hard. I will make sure that you have what you need. I will work with partners. I will make sure that I unite this ward with community and residents and city government, small business owners, mutual aid groups, nonprofits, so we all come together to do what's best for Malden and Ward 7. And it's whether I'm advocating, thank you, vote for me.
Go ahead. You can, if you want to make a last sentence, they're fine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I humbly ask for your vote on November 2nd. Michelle Luong. Thank you.
Thank you. Nate Cupel.
Yeah, thank you so much to our event organizers here, at fellow candidates, to our moderator, Paul Watanabe, for his sports updates throughout, and to all of you, community members here in Ward 8, for sharing this evening with us. I've loved every moment of being able to speak with you at your door, at community events, by phone, by Zoom. I think there's so much that we share in common about why we love living here, and a lot that we have in common about what our dreams for the future can be, and be inclusive future for all of us. I've heard that we have to get the basics better, accessibility, conditions of our streets and sidewalks, or the lack thereof, maintaining and creating new green space, the challenges of navigating our city's traffic and safety, speeding, the quality of our education and support and opportunity for our young people to thrive and grow. They're all not easy tasks to solve, nor will they be solved really overnight. They do, however, take city leadership who really understands how to connect our policies, our partnerships, and our people across the entire city, and not just in Ward 8. I promise to be a connector, a hard worker, listener, and hold myself accountable to all of you, to the residents of Ward 8 and across the city. I appreciate your support this evening. I humbly ask for your vote on November 2nd, and I will share some information in the chat if you'd like to reach out or learn more about me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Peg Crow.
Thank you again to everybody involved in tonight's events, really, for this opportunity to speak to everybody. Like I said before, I'm seeking re-election because we are moving forward in the right direction, but I'm dedicated, passionate, and committed to making sure that that work happens. You know, I will have and continue to be a thoughtful and active listener, a good steward of Malden's resources, and a strong advocate for Ward 1 and all of its residents. I respectfully ask for your vote on Tuesday, November 2nd, so we can continue this work together on the issues that matter to you, the residents of Ward 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn Curtis.
As I said after my last debate, as you can all see here tonight, I'm not a politician. However, I am proud to announce that I have the support of the Patrolman Union, of the Malden Police Department, the Fire Department. As I said in my opening statement, you know, I'm proud of the town I live in and the value that our community has. I am a hardworking Malden resident who believes that everyone deserves a chance to live in a place where they feel part of a community. I want to be a part of building your community and making Ward 3 feel like a neighborhood again. We all need to participate in the effort that will lead us in building the town we want to live in. Let's continue to make Malden the reason we raise our children here and give our children a reason to come back and raise their children. Thank you again for your time. From everyone tonight, gracias de nuevo por tu tiempo. Please vote November 2nd. For me, Glenn Curtis, Ward 3. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Linehan.
Thank you. I really want to thank the organizers one more time for tonight's forum. Getting out the word as broadly as possible is so critical in municipal elections, and I'm really hoping that we have a great turnout on November 2nd, because local elections really do matter. You know, serving on the city council is honestly the best job that I've ever had, and I'm extremely honored to be running for re-election this fall. Public service is my passion, and I love the work that I get to do with all of you. We're doing so much. We're refurbishing our parks, we're making our roads and our sidewalks safer, we're adding trees and green spaces, we're bringing new jobs and businesses to the city, we're paving roads, we're removing lead pipes, and we're attracting so many new residents to our diverse city. A vote for me is a vote for the hardest working candidate who serves you every day, who lives the daily life of working a full-time job in addition to being on city council, having kids in the public schools, and for someone who loves planning all those fun community events while still doing the serious homework of researching and filing legislation. I've co-sponsored more than 30 pieces of legislation in just my first term alone, most of it ideas brought to me by the community. And I bring my A game when it comes to communicating and responding to all of you. I want to keep working for you. And that is why I ask for your vote on election day, November 2nd, when Ward 3 goes to the polls at the BB School. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan O'Malley.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the Chinese Cultural Connections Mei Hong for hosting this event. Professor Watanabe, thank you for your hosting also. The choice is clear on November 2nd, and the residents of Ward 4, and I think the rest of this community, will choose truth over lies. And the truth is that we have accomplished so much together, but we have so much more to do. By celebrating our diverse and beautiful community, we can empower all of our residents and ensure that Malden works for everyone. By investing in our schools, we can make sure that every child in our community has a world-class public education. If we focus on getting grants, we don't have to use our local tax dollars to redo our roads and our sidewalks and our parks. By focusing on fighting violent crime in our community, we can reduce the gun violence that is increasing in our community. It's important that our elected officials follow the law. Threats of violence have no place in our community. Through mutual trust and respect, we can continue to fight for a better city. With my leadership and bold vision, we can make sure we get this and more done. Again, my name is Ryan O'Malley. I'm the Ward 4 City Councilor here in Malden, and I humbly ask for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey Donahue.
Thank you, Professor Watanabe. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. You missed me on the last question, but that's okay. Everybody had some great answers. And here we are again, second forum, and I'm being attacked. Truth over lies. You didn't get anything done when you were on the council. Inclusionary zoning wasn't up when I was on the council. 2016 was when Somerville adopted it. So it's been around since the 70s, but no one's really jumped into that program. When I was on the council, we were doing the visioning statement, which I sponsored, and that was passed. And that's the guidelines that they use right now when they're going through zoning, which he does not follow. The planning board voted unanimously no for a 9-story building on Dartmouth Street. Special permitting goes through the city council. And as well as that, the citizens voted that they did not want any more high impact development down there. The Ward 4 councilor sponsored that and got it passed. Now there's another 12-story development set for the corner of Main and Center Street, 12 stories all the way down to where Faces Brewery is. It will shut down Malden Square for 2 years. Let's think about that. We spent all this time building up businesses. You're going to put them out of business. And he sponsored the bike lanes. He was supposed to bring the tea before the council this month. He's trying to push it off till after the election. There's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. I ask people to get active, get into the issues, talk to people at City Hall and how they're treated, talk to the police and fire, which I am endorsed by as well. When do you see a candidate endorsed against a seated councilor by public safety? They know what's going on. You have to ask around. You have to treat people fairly, and that doesn't happen with the Ward 4 councilor. He's left his neighbors in abeyance when it comes to meetings and dropping flyers at their house and keeping them informed. Only when he gets caught does he speak up. I thought you knew. It doesn't work like that. Your job is to be the voice of your community. That is all you are. You cannot push your personal agenda. You're supposed to do your job, be their voice, and advocate for them. That is lost. And you can say, I didn't do this when I was on the council. I haven't been on the council since 2009. I have 3 children. I have 70 people that work for me. I have a very busy life, but you know what? I couldn't sit on the sidelines and watch how you're trying to tear the fabric apart of Ward 4 over and over. And you're right. They will get truth over lies because you're really good at it. You've been doing this for 6 years. I lost by 30 votes. And the first time I won by 3 and then lost by 4. So be very careful this year. I mean, the people are watching.
Thank you very much. Ari Taylor, the last word.
Thank you so much. So I have to say, I want to thank everybody for making this forum happen and for inviting me to be here today. This campaign has been amazing. I love getting out and speaking to the community. I've knocked over 2,000 doors and talked to almost 700 voters personally. And what I've heard consistently throughout the ward is that they want a counselor who can embrace our past and move us forward to our future, who will no longer rest on the laurels and rely on what has always been done, but bring creative solutions and will be flexible enough to fit every member of the ward at every stage in their lives and lay the groundwork for our children. I believe I am that counselor, and together we can make Ward 5 and the city of Malden work for all of us. So I would appreciate and humbly ask for your vote on November 2nd Ari Taylor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And let me say that this has been a wonderful evening and for a lot of reasons. And I'm very impressed by the candidates here in Malden. And I hope people recognize there's been 75 or 80 people who have stuck through this forum on the thing, and that's terrific. I think that's great. And I hope they appreciate how important it is that these people have put themselves out there to run for public office. Even just running, whether you win or lose, is not really the most important thing. The willingness to serve and the desire to serve is really something that I applaud very much. And if we had an opportunity to applaud all of you, I think we should do so in our own way. To thank you, the candidates, for a wonderful evening. I'm very impressed by what Malden has ahead of it. It's going to be a well-governed community with people here that we've seen on our screen today. And to the organizers, I want to thank them for making the commitment to Malden and seeing that the Malden gets an opportunity to participate and hear from its candidates. That's the other side of the equation, the right of the people to actually play in this particular game. It's one that is not a spectator sport. It's really, they're the critical players in it. And I'm glad for those who have decided to take the time to listen to these people and pay attention to them and cast their vote. It's a precious thing that they have. And I hope you all appreciate the candidates. I hope you in turn appreciate the voters of the city of Malden and their willingness to participate in this exercise. And I want to thank all the sponsors and everybody else for what they're doing and for putting this together. And I want to thank the Boston Red Sox for taking an 8-5 lead now in the ball game, so we can all have a great evening tonight. And thank you very much to the sponsors, and make sure you all vote on November 2nd. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
all.
much.
Thank you all.